What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Corvette Weekly. Welcome back to the show that happens every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is where you can come to find any information about Corvette, whether it's ownership experiences, maintenance items, rumors, news, whatever it is. If it's a Corvette, if it involves a Corvette, you're going to find it here. So today starts a brand new month, and of course it is November. Well, today on this live channel at least starts a new month. It is now November, which is crazy to think, but we have Solar Performance once again sponsoring the channel for the month of November. What does that mean for you? That means we're going to be giving away some throttle bodies. We're going to be giving away some throttle controllers. We're going to be talking a lot about Solar Performance and what makes them different, what makes them awesome, all the good stuff. But before we get to any of that, we are actually going to bring on Joe. You guys know Joe from Solar Performance, so he'll be on here again in very short order, but he is here tonight to talk to us about the HPO Vet Exchange cars, because we've got yet another Corvette for sale, and this time it's a beautiful one. It's a good one. It's great. It's always good deals here on the HPO Vet Exchange. So let me bring Joe on. He's going to talk to you all about what is new on the HPO Vet Exchange website. Joe, go ahead with it whenever you're ready.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. Sorry I've missed the last several weeks, but as Justin mentioned, been out trying to make sure that we have a lot of available cars for all of you to look through and choose from. And as Justin alluded to a moment ago, proud to announce that we have a beautiful triple black 2023 3LZ Z06. Sticker price $161,000, carbon fiber wheels. Basically, if you think about it, we are able to bring you this for about $35,000 below sticker with just 7,800 miles. Its selling price here is $126,200. And when you think about the price increases, Justin and I were talking about this before we went live. Over the last several years, the savings, if you will, over the new price. So it's not just 35,000 over sticker, if you will, under sticker rather, but it's equivalent to about 41 to 42,000 off of the same type of build that you would pay today for the vehicle like this. And who doesn't like triple black with carbon fiber wheels? So take a look at that. It's on the site or about to be on the site. And we think you'll be impressed with that vehicle. The next one up is a 2015 C7 Corvette in torch red. Again, this is a 3LZ. This is also a convertible. Clean Carfax, just 17,500 miles. It's got a sharp, full-length, dual racing stripe. The entire car is full PPF with ceramic coating. And just looking at what prices are these days, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find one in this shape, with a clean Carfax, this mileage, for what the price you can buy it from us for. In fact, I was just talking to somebody earlier today, and they picked up a car similar for $69,000. So we're a good solid $5,000 below that. So that's another one for you to look through. And if you know anybody or yourself, reach out to us. The third one, 2003 Corvette Coupe, 644 wheel horsepower and 564 pounds of torque. It's a 6-speed manual T56 trans, 27,000 original miles, always garaged. LS1 383 built by Leading Edge Performance. Huge binder of receipts with $96,000 in this car in receipts, and yours for the asking price of just $32,500. And then last but not least for tonight, we have a 2000 convertible. It is a C5 with only 25,000 original miles, clean Carfax in the quintessential torch red with black interior. And this car can be yours for $19,900. So you've got four now to choose from, look through. And if you're not looking for one at the moment, perhaps maybe you know somebody that is in the market. And by the way, if any of you or know anyone that is looking to perhaps sell a Corvette for those northeast parts of the country that are getting a bit chilly, make sure you reach out to us, and we'll be happy to speak with them and help them as well. And one last thing, I just want to let you all know that we're happy again to be teaming with Justin for the month of November at Solar to sponsor the channel. And I will be joining one of the Monday nights later this month, and we'll do a whole walkthrough on what's new and exciting at Solar.
Awesome, Joe. Thanks as always. He's always keeping us up to date on these vet exchange cars. So appreciate it, Joe. Go enjoy the rest of your vacation. We'll catch you in the upcoming weeks.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
You too. All right, guys. So as Joe was saying there, on the HPO Vet Exchange, the new C8 Corvette Z06 that we have up there is really a nice looking car. It's got the exposed carbon fiber wheels. It is a 3LZ. It's a convertible, black exterior, very, very nice spec. Definitely something you should check out if you guys are in the market for a C8 Z06. It's a really good deal. So with all of that said, guys, like I said, tonight is being sponsored by Solar Performance. Tonight's giveaway is going to be a throttle body. Now, this particular giveaway is going to be covered on any car, literally any car. As long as they make the throttle body for it, it's going to be covered except for the C8 Z06. Just like it, as usual, guys, we're not going to do that one until later in the month. No Z06 throttle bodies for tonight, but other than the Z06, if you have a Stingray, if you have a C7, a C6, if you have a car that they make a throttle body for, you can win it tonight. Now, we do have to raise a certain amount of money for these, of course, as usual, depending on which throttle body is chosen. They're usually about $400. So let's try to get to that point, and you could potentially get the throttle body given away tonight for whatever car you have. So as usual, the same thing's going to apply here. It's $10 for an entry. $50 or more is double entry. So if you want to get in on it, guys, tonight is the night. Solar Performance over here. Yep, there it is. They're the sponsors of the channel for the month of November. So let's do it. You guys can use the Venmo link that's pinned at the top of the chat, or you can use Super Chat right through your smartphone or TV right here and get a new throttle body for your car. So yeah, right off the bat, I guess we'll jump right into this. Mark got his ZR1. He finally was able to get the ZR1 from the dealership. They finally did the fuel fix or the fuel fire fix thing for it. It's been a gigantic issue. Still kind of a gigantic like production, we'll say, for him to just get a car that he paid for. It kind of sucks, but this is how it is nowadays. Dealerships are more interested in being childish than taking care of business, it seems. But either way, he got his car, so big congrats to Mark. I'm sure he's loving it at this point. He's probably sleeping in it. If I had a ZR1 sitting in my garage like that, I'd be sleeping in it. I'd be 24-hour live streaming the whole thing. So very, very big congrats to you, Mark. The ZR1 is Seawolf Gray. Or I'm going to let Mark type in the chat. Mark, tell the people here in the chat, what do you call Seawolf Gray? I'll put it up on the screen after he answers that question. Gordon Cruz, welcome to the channel. Guys, again, you can win a Solar Performance ported throttle body for any car of your choice as long as they make the car or make the throttle body for the car, you can win it tonight. Now, that's except for the C8 Z06. Any other car, if they make it, you can win it tonight. So be sure to get on your donations here. Every $10 is an entry, $50 or more is double entries. Let's get in on this. So there it is. This is what Mark calls Seawolf Gray. He calls it Justin Gray. Because I'm a big fan of Seawolf Gray. You guys know that at this point. He calls it Justin Gray. I think that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, he had to have his lawyer there just to get his car. Literally for them to release the car to him, he had to have a lawyer there. This is the kind of games that we have to deal with dealerships nowadays. Yeah, dealership in Vancouver, Canada, Markups ZR1 to almost 500,000 Canadian. Well, we're going to be talking a lot tonight about the ZR1 and why the hype and the dealership over MSRP charges they're coming down. And not only are they coming down, they're coming down fast. So the car's really only been available for a little while at this point. I mean, if you don't count the 25s, we've only recently seen the 26s getting delivered. And they've made somewhere around 300, a little over 300 of them at this point, I believe. And yeah, the over MSRP charges are almost, they're almost gone at this point. Now, there are, of course, going to be your outliers where you got some dealers, especially in like California and stuff, that are still charging significantly over MSRP. Some dealers out there were charging over MSRP for a Stingray up until like 2024. So excluding those outliers, the overall price over MSRP has come way down. Now, where things get really interesting with that is an article that I actually read over at the Mid-Engine Corvette Forum, because they noted that there was 4 brand new ZR1s available at McMulkin, and they were being sold for MSRP. Now, there is a slight caveat here. They were being sold at MSRP, but you had to be a previous buyer from McMulkin. So if you've never bought from them before, you couldn't buy these cars. And you had to buy the Expel PPF and ceramic coating from them as well. Now, that's only a slight caveat, because I would say you're absolutely a madman if you're buying a ZR1 and you're not PPFing or ceramic coating it anyway. So really, this is just saving you some time, because you should be doing that anyway. Now, for me personally, obviously I'm involved in a detail shop, so it would kind of suck for me to pay for that whenever I can get it done for free, but I would have done it. And I reached out to Adam here, who you can actually see on the document down there at the bottom. And I reached out to him because there's 3 red mists available and then a jet black one. And of course, I was interested in the black one. He told me you had to have bought from them before, and the black one's already sold. So obviously I wasn't interested at that point. I'm not a red mist guy. I would put that on my car, but I want the black car. And unfortunately it was gone. But my point, the big point here, is that there was 4 of these available. And not only were they available, if you look at the price, the MSRP of them, all 4 of them were at least Aero package cars, possibly ZTK package cars. The price dictates the fact that they had at least the big wing and Aero package, which is awesome. That means that car is basically fully loaded, and you're going to get it at MSRP already. Now, I personally think that's pretty impressive that we're moving that quickly into MSRP territory, because if you guys remember the whole debacle with the Z06, it took significantly longer than this to get to MSRP on the Z06. The ZR1 seems to be sliding towards MSRP after maybe 3 to 4 months. The Z06 was pushing into 2 years before we finally were seeing like decent MSRP charges, or possibly even under. So that's a great point. Bill says, what dealership wants to hold a car that costs over $225,000 on a floor plan? That's like 8 regular price cars they can sell quicker. And that is a fantastic point. Now, this brings up a point that I saw earlier on Facebook, and I wish I would have saved the post, because it was from Criswell. And they were saying the same thing. They said they've sold, I think it was either 8 or 10 C8 ZR1s at MSRP. And after selling those cars at MSRP, they've made over $200,000 in their pocket. So the dealership has made over $200,000 by selling 8 to 10, I can't remember what the number was, ZR1s at MSRP. So this dealership's playing ball, selling the cars at what they're supposed to be sold for, and still making money. And they're not holding on to a car that's sitting on their lot for months at a time because they're charging too much for it and possibly paying their floor plan. Like, it's a win-win across the board whenever the dealerships start charging what these cars are supposed to be sold for. So let's see. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the Tremec transmission here in a second. I wanted to bring that up because one of my subscribers actually brought it up in the Discord chat here. I saw it a couple days ago, and I knew immediately whenever I saw it, it's very unlikely that we're ever going to see that particular transmission in a C8. Now, the only potential chance of that happening would be the C8 Grand Sport. But the problem with that is that Grand Sport's already about out. So for them to bring a manual transmission for the Grand Sport in a car that's already been tested and is going to be announced pretty much any day at this point, it's unlikely. But since someone already brought that up, let's talk about that really quick. So over at Tremec, we see some details about this. But before we get to that point, I want to show you the Discord here. This, if you guys haven't checked this out before, you should check it out in the description down below, because what this is this is kind of a way to stay connected and stay chatting with us even outside of the live videos. And as you can see here, Guy the Great actually is the one that mentioned this earlier today, and I took a look at it, and I had seen it a couple days ago, like I said, but I'm very doubtful it's going to make its way into a C8. If it does, it will be something probably after the Grand Sport, even though the Grand Sport makes the most sense that they would bring it there. It's unlikely to at this point, unless there's some future option coming for it. But the only reason why I'm not going to say 100% that this doesn't end up in a C8 is because of how much it looks exactly like the dual clutch transmission we have now. So again, guys, if you haven't checked out the Discord, please do. Links in the description down below. It allows us to continuously chat about this stuff. Guy the Great has been really great at getting news out to me pretty quickly. In this case, I had seen it a couple days prior. Maybe 2 or 3 days ago, I saw this pop up. I was reading through it, and as soon as I got read through the article, I was like, nope, that's not coming to a C8. But then the more I look at the pictures of this transmission, the more I realize it could come to a C8. But it's going to be tight at this point because we're already nearing the end of the C8 life. Now, this is the transmission, and if you look at this, you can really clearly tell that is very, very similar. It's a very similar setup to what the dual clutch transmission is now in the C8. I could even see in the back here, towards the back end of it, the 2 bolt holes where you would bolt your factory air box to. You can see where the filter goes. A lot of this transmission looks very similar to what we have now. So I could see this happening, but the time frames don't line up really well. So like I said, the C8 at this point is nearing the end of its life. And with that said, I'd put money on the fact we end up seeing this in a C9. Now, the only reason I'm going to say this is because a lot of the manufacturers nowadays, Porsche, Ford, a lot of them are seeming to push a little bit back into the manual transmission game. And I think that that's interesting. I love it, of course. I'm a manual transmission guy, but I personally don't know that I would love a manual transmission in the C8. I don't know why. There's something about the C8 that just, I don't think that car would, there's just something about it that wouldn't be right, in my opinion, with a manual transmission. What do you guys think? Do you think it's possible we see a manual transmission in the C8? Yeah. Professor Corvette says it would be great to have a manual with 6 or 7 speeds. This particular transmission is showing as a 6-speed, which again really raises some questions for me, because Chevy, in order to get that EPA rating that they're going to want, they're probably going to go, I would say they'd go with a 7-speed again, like they did with the C7. That 7th gear was really just, I mean, you have to be maintaining a speed of about 90 miles an hour or more to make 7th gear make any sense at all. Because if you're going like 60 and you're in 7th gear, you're literally under 1,000 RPM, and it's crazy hard to keep that car moving at that speed. Yeah, so Hot Rod Todd brings up another good point, and this is something we talked about in a long time ago. And I mean, I'm talking probably 5 or 6 years ago at this point on this channel. You can dig back through my videos and find it. Chevy did patent a clutch-by-wire setup about 5 or 6 years ago. And everybody was thinking, you know, what's this all about? Why do we need a clutch-by-wire? And the reason is because you need a clutch-by-wire if that transmission is completely, everything's behind you. So you're not going to really be able to do your typical hydraulic clutch setup. I mean, you could, but it's going to be way easier for them to do it if it's by wire. Again, I have some concerns about that, but they have filed that patent, so there is a possibility that we would see this car this transmission in the C8. But again, just because they're filing patents for it does not mean that it's going to happen anytime soon. So when they filed that patent, they could have been filing that knowing it's coming for the C9. So it is possible we see this in the C8, but I would not hold my breath. It seems more like this is going to be a C9 kind of deal. But the fact that they're filing patents for clutch by wires and stuff, we're gonna see a manual transmission eventually in a future Corvette. So either way, that's still pretty cool. Now, could be Zora. T. Robertson says Zora manual, could be a Zora. Absolutely. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. Yeah, and even Mark says the C8 is paddle shift and that's it. I personally don't disagree. There's something about the C8 that to me, I think it would be weird to be a manual transmission in that car. Now, the same thing, only reverse, stands for the C7. I personally, the C7 just, it doesn't seem complete to me unless it's a manual transmission in that car. So I don't know if it's the shape of the car, the performance of the car. It could potentially be the look of the car, because really the C8 is so much more exotic looking than the C7. And I feel like the dual clutch transmission fits that exoticness more so than a manual transmission does. It could be something like that. Rattletrap says, how much do you think for the trans? 15K? Probably 15 or 20. I know whenever the dual clutch transmission from the C8 first came out, they were like 40. So I don't know what they settled on, what they're selling for now, but Switch Lane says, fast shifting dual clutch transmission makes sense in a flat plane crank, which loses revs quickly between shifts. It's a very good point. Very good point. And that's a very valid point for the C06 and the ZR1 that are flat plane cranks. But if they bring out the Grand Sport with, it's very likely to be a cross plane crank engine in that car, or even any future C8 rev in the lineup that is a cross plane crank car, it could still potentially end up in one of those. I would say almost guaranteed the C9 will have them. Not as likely for the C8, but still interesting that this transmission looks so much like the dual clutch transmission that's in the C8 currently. That tells me that even if it doesn't end up in the C8 and it ends up in a C9 instead, that just reconfirms something we were talking about last week, which was that the C9 is going to look very similar to the C8. It's going to have very similar design language, very similar layout, of course, because it's still going to be mid-engine. And if they put that transmission in any one of the cars, then you know the transmission layout is almost identical too. So no matter how you slice it, we're getting some information from this, even if it's not applying directly to the C8, the current C8 Corvette. Yeah, the dual clutch transmission is always going to be faster than a manual. That's going to outshift the guy who can shift at the speed of light in a manual transmission. The dual clutches are always faster because you can only shift so fast as a human. A computer can outshift a human any day of the week. Mr. T says, nope, keep the C8 track-oriented, fast shifts, and complete focus on driving like most mid-engine track-oriented cars. Yeah, I think that's ultimately where my opinion of, like, it just doesn't feel right comes from. They could take the manual, but we know dual clutch transmission is much quicker. So what will be the catch with the manual? Honestly, there's some people out there that want a manual. That would be the catch. Now, I've always been that guy up until the C8. With my C7 Corvette ZR1 here, I wouldn't even have considered buying this car in an automatic. Meanwhile, it wasn't a dual clutch transmission, but the automatics were still faster. They got to 60 a hair faster. They had a hair faster quarter mile time, because even when they weren't dual clutch transmissions, the autos still were faster than a manual shifter. Even with that said, I didn't care. I wanted the manual transmission for the fun, for the feel of drive, all that stuff. I would not say the same thing in the C8. I personally wouldn't. Now, there are people out there that want a manual transmission in the C8, something fierce, and they might get it. And if they do, it's going to be for those people. It's obviously not going to be for you. It's not going to be, most likely wouldn't be for me. I'd have to drive it and see how I feel about it. E-Ray says, do you think every C9 will be cross-plane? I would put money on the fact that we're probably not going to see a lot more flat plane cranks from Chevy on this. I don't know if I want to say 100%, but I would say I'm in the realm of 75 to 80% sure that the C9 will be almost all cross-plane. Unlikely to be flat plane because there's not really a point, especially since the majority of the C9 is probably going to be performance hybrids as well. So we'll see. KP says, I bet someone with the cash and the time might manual swap the C8 with the right transmission, of course. The only problem with that is right now with HP tuners or any of the aftermarket tuners, even though you can tune a C8 Stingray, they have not cracked into the transmission control module yet. So they can't tune the transmission. Without being able to do that, I don't know that if you could do it, it would be quite a feat because the tuning ability is not quite there yet. So if there's some form of piggybacking or something they could use on the transmission control stuff, I'm not overly familiar with that stuff, so I'm not going to say yes or no, but I kind of feel like it's going to be a lot more difficult than some of the mods and stuff they've done on cars that haven't had an ECU that's been cracked. Manuals are for burnouts. Yep. Never wanted a ZR1, just a Z06 manual. Chili Pepper says C9 needs better aero options. Love the DCT. Brad, talk to me a little bit about what you mean there. What are you thinking, like active aero or something more specific than that? Yeah. Bill says, can you imagine what it would cost to replace a clutch in the manual transmission on a C8? Because you'd have to drop. I mean, honestly, it might be cheaper in a C8 than it was even in a C7. Because in a C7, you had to drop the whole cradle engine and the transaxle, which was connected with that torque tube. That's probably harder than just dropping the whole thing out of the rear of the C8. So maybe not as much. Yeah, Ferrari 458 Speciale is a manual. Okay. But the one thing to keep in mind here, even though that is manual, the one thing to keep in mind, how many of those did they sell versus the regular 458s with an auto? Because that's what it's going to come down to for GM. In the last year of the C7 Corvette, they said that less than 30% of their buyers were manual transmissions. That means 70% of the people that bought the C7 Corvette bought it in automatic, and less than 30 wanted a manual. If that's true, then even if they do make a manual transmission for the C8, or even if they do put this transmission in the C8, I should say, how many people are actually going to buy it? And if it ends up being 30% or lower, how long will GM even carry it? That's something else to consider. David, DBM Racing says, I think the C9 doesn't go back to manual due to the amount of time and money they've put in the development. I would love a manual, but I don't see it happening, honestly. So I would have agreed to some degree, David, until I saw this transmission. I feel like this is going to end up in a Corvette eventually because the way that thing looks, it's too perfect for a C8 to not be offered in a C8. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not sure that I would really care much about it being in a C8, but I think it would be kind of cool to see it in a C8. Let's see what else we got here. So Charles Samara, he's the first and only entry for the throttle bodies tonight, and he is in for 10, 20, 40 entries. So guys, again, if you want to get in on this, the Solar Performance throttle bodies, that's the giveaway for tonight. So any car that they offer a throttle body for except the C8 Z06, if you're interested in grabbing one of these, now's your time. We need to get $200 more before we can give it away tonight, but I have a feeling we're going to be able to hit that no problem because Charles just hooked you up with half of that. So he is in for 40 entries. So guys, if you want to get in on it, any $10 is an entry, $50 or more is double entries. Texas Clay says David's taking his C6 to LMR. Yes, he is. That's going to be awesome. I'm definitely anxious to see what kind of power he ends up creating, because that thing's it's gonna have to be a monster. I drove a C6 Z06 one time. I can't remember when that was. Maybe 2 years ago. It was a yellow one that was a Ligenfelter Stage 3 car, and it was putting down 610 horsepower at the wheels. So 610 horsepower on a C6 Z06 that weighs about 3,100 pounds. That car moved. So if David's is anywhere near that, he's gonna love it. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Switchlane says that the 458 Speciale is still a DCT. I thought it was too. The last Ferrari V8 mid-engine was a base Ferrari F430, not the special edition. The Strato, it had a manual option, only single clutch automatic. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I didn't think that the 458 was ever a manual, but yeah. Either way, what I said still applies. Even if they did make a 458 in a manual, the odds of them making as many manuals as they do automatics is slim to none, because the automatic always wins on how many people want that versus the manual. There's always more of a demand for the automatics. All right, looks like we got some donations now in Venmo. Let's see what we got here. So Jack Morris is in for $100, so he'll get 20 entries. And Kevin Reynolds is in for 200, so he's going to get 40 entries as well. All right, so we hit the number to give these things away tonight. Again, guys, any car that Solar Performance makes a ported throttle body for, you could win tonight, as long as it's not a C8 Z06. That is the only car that is off limits today. That will be later on in the week, though. Bill says, David, I'm with you with GM not offering a manual because of money. If anything, they will beef up and make the dual clutch transmission a 9-speed with tighter 4/6 gear ratios. That's likely to happen too, Bill. Because again, if the transmission we're looking at here, if it makes its way into a C9, and I think it will, at least one of the, even if it's a low end, budget build kind of car, if it makes it into a C9, we're looking at a very, very similar transmission case that the current dual clutch transmission is. So if that's the case, then it's going to made up very, very similar to what we have now. And it would be very easy to beef up that transmission, make it a little stronger, maybe change the gear ratios a little bit, and use that same kind of transmission in future C8s. Now, in the very beginning of the C8 Corvette saga, I reported at one point they were talking about a potential 10-speed dual clutch transmission. Nothing ever came of that. But that doesn't mean it's not somehow in the works. Just like they've always done. When they were building and selling C6 Corvettes, they were already working on a C7. When they were building and selling C7 Corvettes, they were already working on the C8. So don't make any mistake in thinking that they're not currently working on the C9. And if that's the case, then a lot of the stuff we're seeing here could absolutely easily be for the C9 and may not even be for C8. Actually, yeah. I mean, even the shirt I have on right now, it's to say the manual shirt. So perfect night to talk about manual transmissions, right? Let's see. If that's the case. Yeah, I did not do that on purpose. I mean, I guess I'll claim that I did, but I didn't. That is an odd coincidence. Is that the same? I'm going to have to look that up now. No, it's not the same. It's a little different. That's funny though. It's pretty close. Definitely weird. If here, I'll show you real quick. If you look at his logo there, it's more like a connected, like a track SP. So a little different, but either way, definitely interesting eyes there. So anyway, guys, let's see what else we got to talk about tonight. So the manual transmission I knew was going to be kind of a big one, but with the C8 ZR1 coming down in, would you guys agree that the hype is kind of dwindling on this car? I noticed it dwindling faster as soon as they announced the ZR1X. I think that was almost kind of a mistake because that really like took the air out of the sales of the ZR1. But what do you guys think? Have you personally seen the hype dying down? I know I was talking to Darren behind the scenes, and he was agreeing a lot of the same stuff was kind of across the board with what he does for a living. Mark, even Mark is saying it has gone down, and he has a 2025. Now, obviously, the 2025 ZR1, the hype was pretty much as high as it could be because you literally couldn't get one of those. So if you have a 25 ZR1 like Mark does, you're one of the lucky ones. But the 26s, they're making a lot more of them, and the hype just doesn't seem to be anywhere near as high as it was with the Z06. Sean says he thinks the economics of the car is killing the hype. You mean just like the price, or what in particular, Sean? Hype coming down due to the price / markup. Well, I'm seeing less markups due to said reduction in hype. So, like I just showed you, there was 4 cars at McMulkin, all being sold for MSRP. Criswell had either 8 to 10 of these ZR1s that have already been pushed through, and they've all sold for MSRP. So some of these dealers are staying true to their word, and they are selling them at MSRP. And when they do, only the people that are super, super, super hyped about this car are going to pay over MSRP. Once those people clear out, that's it. They're not going to be able to sell that car for over MSRP anymore. No one's going to continue. I mean, honestly, the car already being $230,000, how much more over MSRP are Corvette buyers really willing to go? I mean, I know for me, the ZR1, that is the absolute top for me. If a car comes out that's more expensive than the C8 ZR1, like the ZR1X, I won't be able to do it. It's far too expensive. Yeah, Lewis, you're right. He says he doesn't think the hype was ever the same with the ZR1 as the Z06. I agree. The Z06 was better marketed, better hyped, better everything. The ZR1 didn't quite have that same. I think it was because the Stingray, the change to the Z06 from the Stingray was pretty big. I mean, you got a wider car, different wheels, different aero, the flat plane crank for the first time. The sound was amazing. Everything was better on the Z06. Whereas from the Z06 to the ZR1, is it really worth $100,000 more dollars? Because you're getting the same wide body, the same aero for the most part with a different spoiler or wing. Pretty much the same wheels. You can get carbon fiber wheels, even though they're slightly different design. It's still kind of the same concept. The same interior, the same engine for the most part, only plus 2 turbos. Like, is the difference worth $100,000? Because the difference from a Stingray to a Z06 was not $100,000, and it was way more massive. So you're probably 100. You're 100% right. Yeah. And that's another thing. Mark says only if you get the Justin Gray, then you have something. You can't get that in 2026. That's a really big negative for me, is that they stopped offering Seawolf Gray. That really is disappointing. Yeah, if the hype is really coming down, Bill says the hype is really coming down, and that's great for us who want to get a ZR1. Absolutely. Guys, we got 180 people in here watching and only 71 thumbs up. So let's smash the thumbs up, please. Let me know you're liking the content so we can keep doing this. Thumbs up really helps the channel, and yeah, we just love to see them. Here's what they look like in case you were wondering. Thumbs up for me, guys. Let's hit 100 here real quick. Actually, we got almost 200 people in here watching now, so smash those thumbs ups for me. Yeah, E-Ray says most of the marked up ZR1s have been sitting at the dealers for over a month. And that's the thing, is after a month, they start to pay on those floor plans. Would you want to pay on the interest on a $235,000 car? Nope, not unless I own it. Yeah, it's around 300, Robert. Robert Braun says, I heard that there were 300 confirmed orders. It's right around 300. Last I checked, that's how many have been built for 26 so far. Yeah, Z06. There are some, Hot Rod Todd, there are some out there without full aero, and there's not as much demand for those. You're 100% right. Just like with the Z07 versus the Z06, it was the same kind of thing. Z06 has a demand, but it's nowhere near as high as the Z07 car. In this case, the majority of the cars that I've seen, even the four I just showed you from McMulkin, they were all at least the aero package cars with the high wing. They might have been ZTK package cars. I'm not sure. I don't have the build list, but they were priced with at least the aero package. So that's a highly desirable car at that point, and they're getting them for MSRP minus PPF and ceramic coatings. All right, guys. So again, if you could please smash that thumbs up button. We're almost 100. We should be closer to 200. We got 200 people in here exactly watching. So smash the thumbs ups. Donate for a chance to win the Solar Performance ported throttle bodies. Right now, we only have 4 people that have entered. So if you want to win a ported throttle body for your car, donate now. $10 is an entry. $50 or more is double entries. Aaron, AARPM says, 2 dealers near me have moved a few ZR1s. One charges 15K over and the other has been MSRP the whole time. Even at 15K over, that is significantly less than what these have been in the past, and only just recently. I mean, the ZR1s not even a month ago were selling consistently for 100 grand over. We're down to this one being 15 or MSRP. This is definitely showing a pretty big slope into dying hype. Yep. David says, Criswell said when he got on the ZR1 list, it was guaranteed MSRP. They honored that on my early Z06 as well. Criswell has been one of the better dealerships to deal with that I've seen, at least. So odds are good you would get it at MSRP from Criswell. Squirrel Cage Garage, I totally agree with what you're saying here, and it's only because of the difference in marketing. He says, it still cracks me up about the hype of the ZR1X. The very thing that people hate about the E-Ray is the very thing that people love, partially, about the ZR1X and wish they could get it in the Z06. I 100% agree, and it is a marketing thing through and through. That E in the E-Ray name tells people that this car is fully electric and they want no part of it. However, the ZR1X was very clearly marketed as having a ZR1 engine with a bonus extra horsepower motor in the front. It's totally a difference of marketing. That's it. But I definitely agree with how you feel about it. I thought the same thing. It's pretty funny. David says, I don't know, but I feel like I haven't seen as much on the ZR1 being fed into my YouTube feed, but I don't know if it's just because I haven't been clicking on the videos since I haven't seen anything new. It's partially that. It's also partially because there haven't been that many delivered yet. It's also partially because you can't really do anything with them. Once you get the car, you got a fast 1,000 horsepower car, but that's it. What do you do? There's hardly any companies making exhausts, hardly any companies making like catless or cat deletes or anything like that. Even the intakes, most of them don't work for the ZR1 right off the bat. There's things that they have to modify from the Z06 package to get it to work. So there's really not much to do with a ZR1 other than drive it fast and be the only one at your local car show with one. Like, there's not a whole lot to do with it right now. So until they figure out some new exhausts and some new downpipes and stuff like that, you're not really going to see as much about that car as you did the Z06, because you could do a lot more with the Z06. Professor Corvette says, if the ZR1 had, say, a third cup holder or a few more speakers, the hype would have been sustained for another few months. How about the largest turbos ever fitted to a production car? How's that? That sounds pretty good, right? Bill Miller says, then again, people are finding the Z06 a great car and more than most can handle now. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have absolutely no problem with my Z06. Like I said 100 times on this channel, if I end up not being able to get a ZR1, I am not going to cry myself to sleep. The Z06 is a very, very good car. I would have no problems just rocking that thing for the rest of the time of the C8. There's actually an article that I came across the other day. Actually, it was last week, and I almost made a video on it, but I just felt too much like this is like it's going to be so divided. I don't want to divide the community that I've created here, and I knew that it would divide people because it was on the Corvette forum, and it was a person who had traded in his C8 Z06 for a C8 ZR1 and regretted it. He went on to say, and I hate this, but he went on to say that the ZR1 is too fast. And I think that's stupid. It's not too fast, but I know what he's really trying to say. It's more power than you're ever going to need, and you're spending a lot more money on it to get into a car that's basically the Z06 with 400 more horsepower that you don't need. So outside of the extra horsepower, you're losing a really special sound from the Z06, and you're spending more money on it for more power that you're hardly ever going to use. So what you really feel is you're driving a C8 Corvette Z06 with $100,000 less in your pocket until you really get on like a real nice straight highway or something where you can utilize that power. I get it. And I do understand it, but I just feel like it's going to be too divided. People are going to be like, well, having someone say it's got too much power, that's stupid. And I totally agree. That's not the way you need to word that. But regardless. Mr. T says the ZR1 is a steal at MSRP. It's a hypercar. I don't know if it's a hypercar, but it's definitely a steal at MSRP. I totally agree with that. Darren says, Justin, you and I have discussed there isn't $100,000 more car than the C8 Z06. 2 turbos and a bigger ironing board doesn't cost $100K. I can't disagree. I really can't. I think a lot of the price of this car was kind of to try to keep it somewhat rare, and they will. And in the beginning, GM said, we're not going to, limit production on this car. And I said from the very beginning, no, you won't have to. The price is going to do that. The price is going to keep most people out of a ZR1, even at MSRP. It's going to keep most people out of it. So you don't have to limit production. The price is already doing that. Yeah, that's true. TD says, once a car gets to a certain price, it isn't as much fun to drive and enjoy. That is a really good point. That is a really good point. Mark says, even the ZR1 does not sound as good. Sad but true. It is. I drove street speeds. It's a freaking phenomenally fast car. But it doesn't sound like a Z06. Yeah. Mr. Mansour says, correct. Meanwhile, so many people still think the E-Ray is full EV. Yeah, they really do. I've heard it myself. That's pretty much the $100,000. Twin turbos, a bigger spoiler, split window, and a aero style hood. That's really it. It's really what separates at least the 2025 ZR1 from 2025 Z06. Now with the 2026, you get bigger brakes, updated brakes, new interior. But still, is it worth $100,000 more? I don't know. Professor Corvette says, I've said it before and I'll say it now. The ZR1 will save me much time on supermarket trips. Time is money. Oh, that's good stuff. ZR1 at MSRP is about double the price of a current Z06. Yep. AARPM says, truth, Seawolf Gray was the color. I've been rolling over ordering a new car, but the current colors other than black aren't speaking to me. It's exactly where I'm at. In 2026, when my allocation comes up for a ZR1, it's going to be black, because I love the Seawolf Gray, but there's nothing that I like in the current color palette that isn't black. It's just it sucks. They really just, there's something about the cars or the colors on these cars. It's just ZR1 does not sound as good as the Z06. No, it doesn't. 480 ZR1s built as of last Friday, Lewis says. That's awesome. That means they really are churning these things out. Yeah, 480. That's crazy. E-Ray says, I don't even think I want a ZR1 even if I can afford it. I use the frunk so much that it would suck to lose that. I thought the same thing, to be honest with you. I used my frunk way more than I used my trunk in the Z06, and I don't know. I'm not sure if I'd want to lose that. Professor Corvette says, anyone's getting a ZR1X allocation at MSRP? I don't think anybody's even gotten a ZR1X allocation period yet, but guys, we got over 200 people watching. Please smash the thumbs up button if you can. We got a lot more news to talk about here, so this is, of course, the Corvette Weekly. You can tune in every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and talk Corvettes. But please smash that thumbs up. We got 205 people watching. Let's try to make those thumbs ups match. While you're at it, go ahead and take your chance to win a Solar Performance ported throttle body for a car of your choice. Every $10 is a donation. $50 or more is double entries. Brad says, what is the best year for a C6 Z06? Would love to pick one up. 2013. 2013 is the best year for pretty much any C6. Just like a 2019 is the best year for any C7. It typically is the last year before they switch to the new version. That is usually the best year. Lee Bub says, did you buy Street Speed ZR1? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, Kerry Glock. When the times aren't that far apart, why pay the extra money for the insurance? That's another really valid point here. So outside of the $100,000 more you'll pay over the Z06 for the ZR1, the insurance is significantly higher. Bill Miller, if you still have those numbers you gave me once before, if you can remember what they are, type them in the chat here. But he told me he actually called and verified with his insurance company what the difference in price was going to be, and it was significantly higher. Gonzalez says 200K is my max for a ZR1. I would say personally 250 out the door for me would be absolute max, and even that's like probably stretching it a little bit. My realistic max is probably 200, but I wouldn't even consider buying a ZR1 without checking all the boxes. So, all right, guys, we got 230 people in here watching. Smash the thumbs up so we can easily hit 200. Get entered to win the Solar Performance throttle body. Any car you want, except for the C8 Z06, you can get it for as little as a $10 donation. That will get you an entry. Yeah, exactly. Don't call it an E06 or an ER1. If you put E in the beginning, people aren't, they automatically tune out. They think that that's just fully electric. Yeah, ZR1 dealers are jerks. Some of them are. What about you, Mark? Do you have a ported throttle body for your Z06? Wouldn't you like to win one? Actually, I'm sorry, you can't win one for your Z06. That's my bad. DBM Racing says Z06 is an insanely good car at that price point. It's going to go down as a legend. I think, honestly, every Z06 in every generation has gone down as a legend. Maybe minus the C7. The C7 generation Z06, it was an awesome car, but because it was the first one that they supercharged, people kind of got a little, they kind of lost it a little bit on that car. So the C5, the C6, and the C8 Z06, all naturally aspirated, all like really cool, different variations of the base car. Those are always the ones that maintain the best bang for your buck. Yeah, Lewis says, according to mid-engine Corvette, 480 2026 ZR1s have been built. That's crazy. Do you know when the Z06 might be able to be tuned? I've heard from a couple different sources that it could be tunable soon. I don't remember who was just telling me that. Jay Brazelton, actually. Somebody he knows had said something about it. Yeah, and David knows somebody at some place that said that they might be close to it as well. Seawolf says, hey, gang, I just wanted to stop by and give a thumbs up. Got my friend over for dinner celebrating his birthday tonight. I appreciate it. Dan, thank you for taking the time. I appreciate that thumbs up. Guys, follow Dan's lead. Smash that thumbs up for us. DBM Racing says the ZR1 is crazy fast, but I don't know if there's ever such thing as too fast. Yeah, that's the thing. Is when someone says, oh, too much horsepower, you're crazy. There's no such thing as too much horsepower. But I understand, if you read between the lines, what they're really saying is that, do you need it? Is it worth the extra $100,000? I don't know. Lewis says, I'm considering another Z06 instead of a ZR1 with every carbon fiber option and adding RSC ZR1.1 wing. It's exactly what I did, Lewis. Whether or not that ends up being a replacement for a ZR1 for me or not, we'll see. But as soon as I sold my Z06, I knew I made a mistake. That's not a car I can go without. So I had to get another one. And luckily, I was able to build this one to a point where it was even better for me than my black car was. General Lee, what's up, man? I'm good. How are you? How are you doing? Professor Corvette says, is Horsepower Obsessed having a Thanksgiving event at NCM? Not on the day, but around it. Huh. I might actually be able to do that. What kind of event could I have? Send me a text after this video, Professor Corvette. I have an interesting event coming up that would actually put me near there. Yeah, it's never about need. I mean, honestly, we don't even need 670 horsepower. Need is a bad word, yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, I was on the phone with David when I signed his papers. He says, yeah, I couldn't believe when you were on that meeting call and you were like, I'm signing papers on a new Z06, so if I have to go, that's what it is. I know I was on a call with David, but like I was in between a meeting and signing papers to get a car, to buy this car, and it was kind of hectic. Yeah, we might be able to do something, David. It could actually turn out interesting because I'm going to be in that area. So let me talk to Professor Corvette and we'll see what's going on. All right, guys, we got 200 people in here watching and only 120 thumbs up. Come on, let's smash these thumbs ups and let's get these entries for the solar performance supported throttle bodies. You guys want these things. They're great. They add power. They look cool, even though you'll never see them after installation. It doesn't matter. The way that they change the drivability of especially a C8 Z06, I know this isn't going to count for that, but it still works on other cars as well. The way it changes the C8 Z06 drivability, I'd put it on any car that I have. Mike Lewis says, hi, Justin, going to Dubai this month. Going to check out all the incredible hypercars there. Nice. That is going to be cool. I've heard that the scene over in Dubai is pretty crazy. General Lee says, I'm now 60 and my Z06 still scares the crap out of me, meaning I love to drive the out of it. The ZR1 would definitely land me in jail. Yeah, right? That's true. E-Ray says, after running a C7 Z06, I need something that has a minimum of 600 horsepower. Isn't that crazy, the world we live in? Where you have to have 600 horsepower. Glass City Car Nerd. What's up, Jamie? Do you have a solar performance throttle body yet? Because if you don't, you can win a ported throttle body for that Stingray you got. $10 entry will get you, or $10 donation will get you an entry. $50 or more is double. There's only 4 people that have entered so far. Or I'm sorry, 3. There's only 3 people that have entered so far. If you want to get in on that, now's your time. Let's talk a little bit more news here, though, guys. If you don't own a 2026, which I actually know, I don't know if Steve Robertson's in here, but I know he just got one. Check this out. So the data in the PDR for the 2026 performance data recorder, it's changed. And the way it changed is kind of interesting. I didn't know any of this until I just recently saw it. So this is what your overlay on a 2026 will look like. But the problem with this is, if you have your SD card in the slot and you're recording and you're on the track and you get home and you pop that SD card out and put it in your computer because you want to transfer these files over, all of the files transfer over with just video. That telemetry data is not baked into the video the way it was on the C8 25 and older or the C7. You have to actually take this and go through a different application, Cosworth, a live drive app, to get that data onto the video. So you have to do an additional step that you didn't have to before. And I feel like this is really odd because it feels like an unnecessary step. You have to do this to get the information that should already be baked on there. And now there's a real good chance for some sort of weird, issue where the two pieces of data don't fully perfectly align and you're accelerating and it's not showing you accelerating or something like that. I feel like this is going to be a problem. But if you have a 2026, let me know your experience. Have you had any problems with something like this on your PDR? Okay, he is here. He downloaded the Cosworth app after reading. What's it like, Steve? Is it hard to match them together? Is there any chance that it could potentially not align perfectly? I feel like it's an unnecessary step when in the past it's been done automatically for you. Why do we all of a sudden have to add that in there? There you go. See, Mark, another reason I have a 25. Yeah, typical GM to just like throw an additional step in there for no reason. C8 Nate says it's weird his plaid doesn't record audio at all. There is some legality issue with recording audio. That's probably why some car companies probably just don't want to bother with it. That would be just like them. Jay Browston says you'll probably eventually have to pay. That would be just like them to do that. Because that kind of leads us into our next topic. And that's going to be that GM is going to be dropping Apple CarPlay and Android Auto from all of its vehicles. All of them, not just the EVs. Originally, they said, no, don't freak out. We're not dropping the Apple CarPlay from anything that's not an EV. But now they've come back out and said for sure they are dropping it regardless. And it's starting pretty soon. So if you're looking to buy a new Corvette or a new Chevrolet, I don't know if they'll do it with the C8 lineup now that they've already made the change to the interior and it does still support Apple CarPlay. But at some point here, they're going to be canceling the CarPlay and Android Auto. And like this says here, it's not just Corvette owners, it's across the board, eliminating Apple CarPlay and Android Auto support for future products from all GM vehicles, Chevrolet, Buick, Cadillac, and GMC. Because they say that their vehicle's native infotainment interface is so next generation that GM vehicles will switch over to Android-based software that works without the need to piggyback off a smartphone. And they're just so sure that their stuff is so much better that they're just going to not allow you to do Android Auto or CarPlay. This is annoying to me because if you use Android Auto or CarPlay, you understand that it's not just about the interface. It's about having everything that you use daily on your car, regardless of what car you're driving. I get in my Corvette, my C7, it looks the same as it does on my C8, which looks the same as it does on my Ram pickup truck. That's what it's about. To me, it's a blanketed, the same kind of thing across the board. Whereas like if you're driving typically a Honda one day or a Nissan and everything in the settings and the audio settings, everything's different. So this keeps everything the same while having access to all of the music you've downloaded, while having access to all of the apps that you have on your phone. It makes a million times more sense to have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. And honestly, these car manufacturers could get to the point where all they're putting in their cars is a screen that doesn't even do anything unless it's hooked up to a smartphone. So save yourself the money, give us the screen and the ability to put Android Auto or CarPlay on there, and you don't even have to do anything. I would prefer it that way than more so than them stripping CarPlay and Android Auto completely out of it. I think that's a horrible, horrible, horrible mistake. Yeah. And I'm sure there'll be some sort of subscription fee. I know there's a fee to update your GPS. And yes, odds are very good. Like David says, he's sure GM is working on their own subscription shirt. They probably are. And that's the real reason why they're cutting it out. They're cutting it out because they're going to force you to use something that isn't as good, and you're going to have to pay for it. Mr. Mansour says GM's current software was designed by 2 chief Apple engineers. Actually, it's won a few awards. I don't doubt that. And I'm sure you're probably right. But what I said still stands, because even if GM's is the greatest that's ever existed, I would still rather have a, interface, all of my information, all my apps and everything at the touch of a button on any car I'm driving, not just a GM. So if I get out of the GM and into my Ram truck, like I said, I should have access to all the same stuff. That was the whole point of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, was to not just because the interface was better, but it was because it gives you access to all of your stuff all the time. And it doesn't matter what car you're in, what manufacturer car, I should say. Hot Rod Todd, this is exactly why this is even coming up, is because Tesla doesn't have it. And they assume, well, if Tesla doesn't do it, we don't have to either. Like, I hate it. I hate when they do this kind of stuff. Just don't, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Professor Corvette says, what? Are you accusing GM of making a mistake with the C8? Impossible. Nothing's perfect. I love the C8 Z06, but I could sit here for a day straight and tell you the problems I have with it. But at the end of the day, it's as perfect as it's going to get and still check the boxes for me. Yeah, GM has already tried to mandate an OnStar subscription instead of Apple or Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Yeah, they consistently try to implement that stuff. They tried that during the C8, actually. They tried to bill you for OnStar, for having the OnStar in your car. And it's like, you don't give me the choice. You can't bill me for it and not give me the choice of whether or not it's in my car. Like, I hope that something like that happens. Professor Corvette says Joler will make an infotainment controller that will bring CarPlay compatibility. I hope that somebody would do that. But I also know how difficult that is to do if the CarPlay or Android Auto isn't already a built-in function. Like back in the day with the C7 Corvette, if you got it in 2014 or 15 before those standards were implemented, you really couldn't add it on without replacing a good bit of the actual head unit control modules. Anthony George says, any updates on RSC on a ZR1 hood? Not yet. It wouldn't surprise me if something's coming pretty soon, though. Kerry Gloss says, I missed the CD player. I like my own playlists. All right. I get it. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is one of those things that matters to me. And, sometimes it doesn't matter. If it's something that doesn't directly affect me, I don't really care that much. If it's, an option, we'll say. If it's a price increase, that sucks, but what are you going to do? This is more of one of those things where it's like, there's no reason for this outside of just total greed. That's the problem. All right, we got Jamie in for 2 entries. So we do now have 4 entries for the solar performance throttle body. And like I said, that will be any throttle body that they make ported other than the C8 Z06. This is a question I've had for a while. Canio says, how much does GM have to pay Apple and Samsung for the CarPlay / Android Auto? Most of these decisions are down to dollars, so probably cheaper to develop their own and cut out the others. I have always been under the impression that there was no charge for that. Now, if there is no charge, then this is 100% a greedy move by GM to implement some sort of pay to listen scheme. If there is a charge, my opinion on this changes a little bit. Because if they are being charged, and especially if it's a significant charge, then all of a sudden I understand a little bit more. But I'm like 90% sure there is not a fee for this, from Apple or Android Auto or Android. Brad, has Justin ever even bought a CD? Up until probably 25 to 28 years old, man, I had a gigantic CD collection. I bought CDs all the time. I mean, I've moved on. I'm now on to, just downloadable music / Sirius XM radio. But yeah, I had a lot of CDs back in the day. There is a license fee with Android / Apple that is paid by the automakers. It's between $20 and $30 per vehicle. It makes more sense then for them to cut it out. I'm a little bit, that's still annoying to me, I think. Because ultimately what it's going to do is it's going to net any one of these companies killing off Android Auto and CarPlay. It's going to net them more money in the long run because they're going to charge for XM charges. They're going to charge for GPS updates. They're going to find even new things to charge for, and that's the part that sucks. Hot Rod Todd said the same thing. They'd rather get income for subscriptions instead of paying to include CarPlay. And that's the thing. Instead of paying the $20 or $30 or whatever it is per car, they're going to now net $300-$400 per car per year probably to include their stuff. And not only that, you're going to be paying all this money to include it, and it's going to suck. It's not going to be anywhere near as good as CarPlay. Exactly. And that's exactly what I was thinking, Mark, is it's probably already factored into the price of the car. So nothing's free. I mean, even when they send you to Ron Fellows for $1,000 for the Z06, or I think it's free for the C8 ZR1, free. It's already factored into the price of the car. You're paying for it. And so would I. Sean says exactly what I said. If it's really that important to them to save the $30, charge me an extra $30 at the time of me signing those papers, and I'll pay for it. Because I would rather pay that and get what I want out of it versus not being given the option and being forced to use their stuff. Yeah, Lego says he hates subscriptions. I like to have my own music and not rent it for the rest of my life. That's it. And that's the thing with CarPlay or Android Auto. Not only is it's all your stuff, your pictures, your music, your videos, your subscriptions, your apps, your everything. So if you log into, or if you open up something, you're already logged in because it's on your phone. It's like, and it's that thing that you never forget, it's always in your pocket. So it will always be, able to be broadcasted on your screen. All right, guys, we got almost 300 people in here watching and only 134 thumbs ups. Smash the thumbs up, guys. We need more thumbs ups. Let's hit 200. There's no reason we can't. Riptide Rick says, has anyone had the fuel filler fix done by their dealer yet? I got the initial letter from GM, but nothing from the dealer. Bill Miller went and tried to get it done recently, and they told him that it's being done strategically by your VIN number. So whenever your VIN is ready, they'll send you a letter, basically. Yeah, I guess Mark has on his ZR1. Anybody who has a 2026 in their possession has already had it done. Yep, guys, hit the thumbs ups. We got well over 200 people in here watching, and those thumbs ups need to match. So let's smash the thumbs ups. I'm going to give you guys the next 5 minutes. You got 5 minutes to get entered in on the Solar Performance throttle ported throttle body giveaway here. So every $10 is an entry. $50 or more is double entries. We are going to be running that wheel tonight and giving away a throttle body tonight. So get in while you can. As of right now, we only have 4 entries. Four people have entered, guys. You could easily get in on this. If you have a car you want a ported throttle body for, now's your chance. You can save a bunch of money. You got 5 minutes. I don't think we've gotten any more. Jamie was the last entry. Yep, no more entries right now. Yeah, don't spill any fuel before your VIN gets called. I'm not really worried about getting that applied myself, but I mean, just don't, like I said before, just don't be dumb when it comes to gas. It's a flammable liquid. Be careful whenever you're filling up your car. If you really care, plug up that hole at the bottom. Well, as of right now, in the Corvette at least, they're using Android Auto, or I'm sorry, Android operating system, which is based on Linux, I guess. But it's funny that they're that they use Android, an Android operating system, but then won't allow you to use Android Auto. Like it's already there. It's literally that's baked into the Android operating system to have Android Auto, and they're gonna not let you use it. That's fantastic. Steve Robertson says, Justin, tell us about the C8 emblem over your left shoulder. That's funny. You guys are so you pick up on these things. I just put that there before I started. That's from a company called Chrome Domes. Really a cool piece. I'm still looking for a place to permanently mount it. I don't know. I just set it on my guitar for the time being, but it's pretty lightweight. Real nice piece. Could be easily double-sided taped to the wall. I have a C7 emblem down in my garage as well. Yep, Jay Brazelton, I got you in for 10 entries. And somebody else here just entered too. Alan McKinney is in for an entry. Okay. All right, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 entries now, guys. It's actually not touching the fretboard, believe it or not, John. I made sure that it was not touching the guitar. It's like the way that it's sitting is like this far off the fretboard. It's actually right up against. It's like not against it. I don't look to damage my stuff, so yeah. Put it on the hood of your new ZR1. It will match the wing. Yeah, there you go. That's funny. Rally Roofer says, I'm going to keep my 24Z06. I think the wall buttons is going to be a collector. I think you're probably right. I think people are going to ultimately come to the conclusion that the wall buttons was a better layout. General Lee says, I used to play the drums. Love me some Rush and Metallica. Heck yeah, man. I literally made a shirt that says Horsepower Obsessed in the Metallica font because I like Metallica so much. And honestly, like one of the only things I can play on my guitar is Metallica stuff. Okay, guys, you got 1 minute left. If you're looking to get entered in on the throttle body stuff, you got 1 minute. Wall of Buttons could be the name of a Rush song, or at least Metallica. It could be, yeah. I could see that. That's funny. Yeah. All right, we got 163 people in here watching, 143 thumbs ups. That means we got 20 people not pressing that thumbs up. What can I do to get those 20 people to press thumbs up? Raleigh's got the twin 91s. He's already set. It's not for the Z06 anyway, so yeah, that's what I mentioned earlier. Bill said he was only there for service, and they didn't have the part for the fuel TSB. They can only order it with the VIN and during your VIN rotation. So basically, they have to make it unnecessarily complicated for you to get your fix, is ultimately what that means. All right, so I'm going to start putting these names in the wheel, guys, and I'm going to spin it. So bear with me 1 second. If you you have like 20 seconds to get entered if you haven't yet. So I will make sure you're entered if you haven't been, but you got to get in there like now. So let's see. Charles gets 40. Jack Morris gets 20. Kevin Reynolds gets 40. Jamie gets 2. Jay gets 10. Allen's gets 1. All right, so we are ready to go. No further entries here, it looks like, guys. Oh, Rally Roofer's got an engine light to fix. What's the code you're getting? That would get annoying really fast. You think it would be cool until we were getting like 200 of them at once. I wouldn't be able to talk for like 20 minutes straight. No one would be able to hear anything. Yeah, but what's the check engine light you're getting? I'm about to spin the wheel here. So while we're spinning the wheel, Rally Roofers, go ahead. Oh, you don't know. Well, if you were closer, I could check for you. I have the ability to check that. Oh, wow, Brad, do you only have 3,000 miles on that car? Man, you got to drive that. That's 90% of the fun of owning that car is how well it drives. But anyway, let's do this, guys. We got the wheel up and running, so let's shuffle this around a little bit. And there we go. Now let's do one more. Nope, I don't like when those colors match. There we go. All right. So here we go, guys. Okay. Looks like Charles. Charles, shoot me an email. It's just horsepowerobsessed@gmail.com, and I'll make sure that you are forwarded on to the appropriate people at Solar Performance to get your throttle body. So send me an email when you get a chance. So big congrats to Charles. Thank you guys all for the support tonight, as usual. We still have over 200 people in here watching and only 155 thumbs up. So please smash the thumbs up on the way out, guys. Thank you so much for the support as usual. Stay obsessed, and I will see you guys the same time, same place next Monday night.